Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
Coach Kyle, and I'm super fired up. Happy Monday.
It's a new year, new intro. We figure we've been rolling with the old one, so we got to switch it to a new one, kind of keep it fun. And I love saying happy Monday to people because as I run around on Mondays, everyone's like, oh, it's Monday. I hate Mondays, this and that. To me, Mondays are one of my favorite days because it's like a fresh start to the week. It's the first day of the week, not officially, but in everyone's minds, it essentially is. You're kind of back into your ebbs and your flows, into your routines. You can have all your ambitions for the things to come in the week. And we want to be here to motivate you to really make this week a fantastic one. So thank you so much for tuning in with us today. We like to start our episodes off with a quote that has really impacted us, got us fired up, or really got us thinking. And we're going to kick it away with Kyle's quote.
So this week, my quote is, I was listening to another motivational video this morning and it just hit me. So once again, as always, I had to pause, I had to write down, I had to search it to make sure, it was actually said by this person. But Nelson Mandela had said, "There's no passion to be found playing small in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." So I honestly, truly believe from the bottom of my heart, every single person is destined for greatness and honestly can achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. I think a lot of times when we go through our lives, we're told by a lot of people, I think it starts with being a kid and being told, hey, stop doing that. Hey, don't do that. When we fail, we're told to, stop doing something essentially. And I think as we go through schooling and just throughout the years, we're kind of told to stop doing stuff and to start thinking smaller and, live within the means, right? So I just wanted to challenge you this year to set big goals, to set some ambitions that you really want to do. And if someone says, hey, you're crazy for doing it, say, hey, maybe I am, but I'm going to at least give it my best shot and I'm at least going to try. And I actually saw this the other day as well. I don't know the exact quote, but it was essentially something like, what goal would you strive for if you knew there was no way you could fail? And what I mean by this is I think a lot of times people stop setting big goals because they're afraid of failure. And the other day I made an Instagram story just about how failure is such an important part of the process. I posted me failing 315 pound bench press, but I hit 305, which was amazing. And I said, I'm just going to come back stronger. And, even myself, there's probably about 200 plus times in my entire fitness journey where I've failed something, but I just don't let it get to me. And I know this is kind of like a bunch of different things to think of, but set big goals, strive for better, achieve some incredible things, and don't let anybody tell you can't do it because I truly believe you can.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in setting bigger beliefs. There's nothing fun about being ordinary, being average, being run-of-the-mill. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but I think we're capable of doing so much more. And I think the expectations right now are so low, it's so easy to surpass it. And it's so much better once you start to break out of that and you're like, okay, I don't care if everyone else isn't fit, if everyone else doesn't take care of themselves, if everyone else overeats or doesn't try to improve their knowledge or their skill set. I'm going to be different. I'm going to be my own person, and really just trying to play a bigger game, knowing you're able to do more is so important. And that's why we hit on that a lot. Every listener, you are so capable of a lot more than you think. And then I know it's easy to hear and be like, okay, sure. But you'd surprise yourself, especially if you think back to something hard you wanted to get done that you saw to its completion and seeing yourself get better. It's an amazing art. And once you start to believe that you're capable of doing that, it's amazing how that works. Even for us, we'll set teeniest, smallest goals. At one point, our goal was to have 100 YouTube subscribers, and that was a crazy goal. It's one of the hardest goals to reach. The first 100 was so hard, and then it's amazing now looking back and being like, wow, that was easy. Look how far we've come. That was nothing. But at the time, that was such a shocking, crazy goal, and everyone's like, oh, being a YouTuber is hard. Getting 100 subscribers is going to be impossible. And then it became 1,000, and it became 100,000, and you get the point. And it's amazing to see how you can really achieve these crazy, grand things by even just taking those first steps. If you want to be the world's best sprinter, you got to learn to walk first. So I think that's a great quote. I love the power of thinking big. And I find too, even for me, I get really motivated being around others that are doing more, that are really pushing the needle, that will inspire you to do more because it makes you realize, wow, this is capable. Whereas if everyone else you're hanging around with, I keep saying this quote I heard to Kyle that I thought was pretty funny. You don't become an eagle hanging around with turkeys. And I thought that was a pretty good quote, because if you're only surrounding yourself with turkeys, you're probably going to end up becoming a turkey. But if you're a turkey and you're around eagles, you're going to be like, okay, I got to get to work. I want to do some big things and have a vast impact. So I thought that was a really funny and simplified way of explaining that. And I just think that is a killer quote. Now for my quote, I have a Jim Rohn quote, and my quote is, your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. And it's so easy to have wishful thinking and to say, one day everything's going to click for me. I'm going to be less busy. I'm going to have a great gym routine. I'm going to eat healthy. But that's not the way it works. You got to take that action now. Even if it's imperfect action, just getting started now is so important. I mentioned in my book episode how I really enjoyed the book Discipline Over Motivation, I believe, or is it Discipline Equals Freedom?
Both of them, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. The book is Discipline. What is it right here? Discipline Equals Freedom.
Okay, I thought so. Kyle has that flag behind him. If you're seeing the video, it's right there. But I couldn't remember if the flag was the same as the book. Anyhow, like, I love that book. It's just very matter of fact. And he, like, the chapter I read this morning, he had mentioned how it's like, how can I eat clean? And he'd just be like, eat clean. And they'd be like, how can I work out consistently? And he'd be like, work out consistently. They'd be like, how can I get better sleep? And he'd be like, get better sleep. And like, I know for some people, they'll hate that answer and they'll be like, that doesn't answer the question. But to me, I was like, wow, like it really is that simple though. Like a lot of the time we know what to do. And even today I was watching a video and Alex Hermosi was talking about the concept of inversion. And this is something that came from Albert Einstein. He said you should always invert your problems, because if you look at them from a different lens, it makes it very clear what you need to do. So an example is, if I want to be really fit, I'll ask myself, how could I be the least fit, most obese, most just worst state possible, least healthy person? And I'd be like, easy. Okay, I'm going to watch Netflix all day. I'm going to make sure to never walk anywhere. I'm always going to commute, do whatever. I'm always going to order in food. I'm always going to get the biggest portion possible. I'm going to drink no water, and I'm never going to go to the gym. And from that, we can deduce what we need to absolutely do and not do. And some of those things you might be like, oh, I'm not walking enough. I'm not eating healthy. I'm ordering out too much food. And you can start to self-correct from that. And I think sometimes that abstract thinking is really, really good. And bring that back full circle to this quote, like asking yourself, what do you need to change? And if you use that inversion, you analyze what you need to change, you can really begin the legwork to see some fantastic progress in your life. And just, yeah, I think in your life is a perfect way to end it.
Yeah, honestly, I think reverse like engineering is so important, even just for some people, like goals, but also even just, for example, if you want to get up at a certain time, you just start reverse engineering. Okay, when do I have to go to bed? When do I have to do this? And like, I just think it honestly makes such a big difference. Funny enough, I was planning my trip. We're driving to Florida, and I was just like, okay, well, let me just reverse engineer. What time do I want to get there? And then just like work backwards. Like, and that kind of just helps you figure out essentially where to start and what time to start and all that great stuff. And I think that's a great thing, especially when you think of your goals and how impactful that can be for sure. My thought mainly was just essentially, as we're, fresh into this new year, I know a lot of people start the year with great intentions. We're just over a week in, which is fantastic. And my biggest thing is I want to see people through this year. I want you to end this year in a better spot, like 10 times better than you had begun. But I do know a lot of times there's that fall off in January and February, or sometimes even 2 weeks in, if you said something that's unrealistic or you don't have accountability or your goals don't mean enough to you. Those are the three biggest reasons. But I think it's very important to find ways to set goals and have those rewards as well. I'm honestly a really big fan of it. And I find that I like to share the things that I maybe struggle with because I feel like some people may as well. Sometimes when I would set goals and say, hey, when I reach a milestone, I'm going to reward myself with this, whatever it is. It could be a new piece of clothing. It could be a nice meal or whatever it is. And I find sometimes I guess you could say, just be like, oh, well, it's not enough, essentially, right? If someone, let's say, loses 20 pounds and they're like, oh, well, I'm still not done. Like, I'll reward myself when I get there. And I know that a lot of people do struggle with this mentality where it's like you're not finished, so you don't want to reward yourself too early. But at the same time, I think it's definitely worth celebrating your wins throughout the entire journey, whether that's 10 pounds lost, 20 pounds, and just consistently every time you reach a milestone, telling yourself, hey, you've worked for this. You deserve this celebration. And once again, when we talk about celebrations, it never should be something that sabotages your journey. So some people will say, hey, I'm going to go out to the fanciest meal no calories count, buffet for, a week of crazy vacation when they lose a certain amount of weight or just to reach a milestone. But that to me isn't exactly going to be helping you on your journey. So for a lot of our clients, they like to buy a nice new piece of clothing. They like to essentially just get something that they've been wanting for a while. And it could be a bunch of different things, but that's mainly what's been on the top of my head. And I really encourage you, celebrate your wins with other people as well. And you'll see some great success this year.
Yeah, it's really easy to move that mile marker. And even for us, like Kyle mentioned it the other day, how it's easy to be like, okay, 100, great, but we have so much more work to do. I'll celebrate 1,000, I'll celebrate this, that. And even looking back, there were times definitely where we should have celebrated, like overcoming those things. And I know for weight loss too, people will be hesitant to talk about it because they'll be like, I'm only down 20 pounds. I have 20 more to go. And it's like, that is still amazing. Like, go pick up a 20-pound dumbbell and imagine just carrying that on your body is fat. Like, it's an incredible thing to really recognize and appreciate these small wins, even if maybe your week average went down a pound from last week. That is progress, and all progress should be accepted and celebrated because we have such a tendency to kind of ignore our wins and focus on our losses. But the wins are like little fuel, like just little insertions of fuel into our motivation bank that'll keep us going. And when you feel like you're winning, when you know you're on the right track, it goes fantastic and really does move the needle. And then I guess for me, like what has me excited or intrigued, I watched a video today and they recently did a study on weight loss with participants, and they did it with researchers. This one fitness science YouTuber was talking about it, and he had mentioned how they all reported losing more weight, and the reason they really found they lost the most weight was because they had accountability of the researchers. So they had someone to report to, someone holding them accountable, and it really showed that effect that you can hack motivation and discipline by bringing someone else into that journey, having accountability partner, or better yet, having a coach. And I thought it's really cool, like seeing what you know and having science reaffirm that is always nice. But it's amazing seeing people come into our coaching program who have always struggled, who have never been able to lock into something. But as soon as they have that pressure and they have that support system on their side, they have their coach to see around corners, help them get better results. Like, it's amazing to see that click and really be successful. And I guess that's the other thing I want to talk about was in this new year, it's really easy to start strong. Like, I'm sure everyone's crushing it right now, but problems are going to arise. There's going to be times you're less motivated. You're going to get back to being slammed at work after being off for so long. And that's where having someone on your side is going to be that difference maker. So you don't want to be overlooking that, because going at it by yourself, you're really limiting your capacity for success. We mentioned before too, like find some eagles to surround yourself with, like build yourself up. And even if you don't have access to that, as I always say, listen to podcasts, do your research, try and like observe what the really people that are crushing in the gym, what they do, how consistent they are, emulate that, repeat that, and then better yet, hire a coach, see those results guaranteed. But that's just something that was on my mind that I wanted to share today.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't agree more. Like for me, even as I reflect on some of my biggest goals, like this year is just about, like I said before, just taking things to the next level, surrounding myself around people that are bringing me up. Even for a lot of people, if you get around people that are energy chargers versus energy drainers, it is absolutely phenomenal what that can do for you and how that can change your mindset. But yeah, I mean, that's all I really have in terms of the thoughts. I'm not sure. Do you have anything else there as well?
No, nothing else to add there. But I guess we'll end that by saying as we're in the new year now, we're doing a special promo for those of you that are looking to get a tight tummy into summer. So if you're someone who's a little bit skinny fat, maybe you got some extra fluff around your midsection that you really want to target and get rid of, we're doing a special test group, and we actually just shared an amazing example of someone who absolutely crushed it, my client Tiffany. It was awesome to see the progress she made and to really see her come into her full form. And in this photo, you can see the difference adding muscle, losing fat really makes. So if you've had stubborn belly fat that you're sick of having, that you want to break through, that you want to have progress with, we're here to help you. We're looking for 4 people who want to jump in at a special rate. And to take advantage of this, you have to DM us the keywords tight tummy to us on Instagram to @ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT, and we will get you some abs for summer.
Absolutely. Honestly, when I speak to a lot of people, there's a lot of you that have the amazing goal of just getting a flatter stomach, a tighter tummy, all that great stuff. And it's great because it brings us into the first question, which we've actually been asked a few different times in a few different ways here. But this was from Joanne. And she had said, I have a goal set of having a flat tummy, especially with the destination wedding I'll be attending this coming summer. What are some good tips and tricks you recommend that will help me out? So I'm going to start here with one of my biggest tips is get started now. I know a lot of times people will kind of look at a certain goal that they want to achieve and think that there's a ton of time, which I guess there sometimes can be, but for the most part, I'm sure every single one of you know how quickly time can just sneak up on us, and just a couple months later, like holy, like it's about to take place. So with that being said, in terms of just getting a tighter tummy, even I actually made a reel recently where I was just doing a bunch of ab exercises saying like, hey, this isn't exactly what's going to help you out, and then listed a bunch of different things that will help you out. And the biggest thing is just going to be really dialing in your diet, right? So as I always say, the abs are made in the kitchen. And while I don't exactly love that, because I do think that training is equally as important, it is definitely the first thing that can make the most amount of change and just help you out a ton. So for example, let's say, Joanne, you have 20 pounds to lose until you start to see that stomach change, until you get your stomach a lot flatter. A lot of that's just going to be from making sure that you're in a calorie deficit. So what that means is you're burning more calories a day than you're consuming. And plain and simple, that just means that you have to essentially start eating less and moving more. And where this does get very, very challenging, and that's why I'm glad that Josh mentioned we have the flat tummy, the tight tummy promo taking place, is it's very hard to know what the right numbers are and how much you should be moving and how much you should be consuming. And a lot of times people are kind of in the, I guess you could just say they're in the darkness. Like they say, hey, I'm moving more. That's awesome. They say, hey, I'm eating less, but they don't actually have the statistics. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you an example of a spreadsheet of what we like to do for every single one of our clients, how we like to make sure that the cardio protocols are being met, the workouts are being met. Of course, every workout is fully customized, but on top of that, just making sure that averages are there. There's a lot of info. So when you do join our program, you also essentially get the one-on-one support, you get the customized workouts, you get the changes each week. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle, is they don't really make any changes and they don't really see the data. So those are my two biggest tips: strength training, dialing in the nutrition, having the accountability throughout this, because there will be a lot of obstacles. But honestly, like, we're helping a lot of people get ready for these specific events. Like, we've already had people start to message us about these types of events that are taking place. And I love that people are thinking well in advance versus like waiting till the month before, because it's really hard. Like, June comes up, you're like, I got to get ready for July. It's challenging. Whereas here, it gives us a lot of time to build some muscle, to lose some fat, to make sure that also when you go away for this trip, you're not deprived and you can't enjoy yourself. Like, there's a lot of things that we essentially incorporate. So hopefully that all makes sense. But of course, having a customized situation is the best thing for you.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about trips that makes everyone aware of their stomach fat. They're like, I got to fix this. My shirt's coming off. I'm on the beach. I'm in a bikini, or I'm in my swim trunks, whatever it may be. But it is definitely something you can bring down. And as Kyle said, the key really is reducing body fat. Spot reduction is pretty much a myth, like to only target one area. But there are a lot of ways you can lose fat faster and more intelligently while putting on more muscle. Because also, if you consider, if I'm getting bigger, wider shoulders, my stomach's going to look tighter. There's a lot of advanced strategies. As you build out your lats, your waist is going to look smaller. And then as you lose fat on top of that, you build ab muscles, all of these great things. Like, these advanced strategies really come into play. And we've done entire episodes on this, but even understanding someone's specific situation, whether they need a body recomp, whether they've been over dieting and they need a reverse diet where they can eat more calories and lose more fat, whether training needs to be heavily adjusted, there are a lot of advanced ways you can really push the needle with this and see faster, accelerated, better results by being more intelligent with it. And that's where you'll get a lot. If you see the video, like, seeing the spreadsheet we use is so imperative, because for me as a coach, I'm able to see so much data and manipulate that data to create incredible transformations without doing over the top, ridiculous, excess actions. Like, we're not going to be asking anyone to do like hours of cardio or to give up their favorite foods. That's never what we're going to do. You're going to be able to eat all your favorite foods, not be excessively in the gym, and really see long-term progress. And that does come down to these higher level systems. And people sometimes will say, okay, well, that's great with coaching and I want to get to coaching, but maybe I can't afford it right now. What should I do? So once again, like, we're here, like I've mentioned before, to really maximize that stool. So if you think about your nutrition, if you think about your training, then you think about your accountability and planning. That's what we need to maximize. So that third leg of the stool also includes having mechanisms to really make sure you're progressing. So for us as coaches, week to week, we look at the average of weight, because sometimes we weigh in, it's super high, some days it's super low. I've had a week where I was 207 one day and I was 214 another. Like, you have to consider that 7 pounds difference. And if someone was just looking at that data, or I didn't give you the full example of what was happening that week, it would be very confusing. You'd either think I'm way heavier or way lighter than I was. And what that was that I was essentially bulking. I was like 214. I got super sick. I was really sucked dry of nutrients. Of course, I'm going to be crazy, crazy lighter. But people don't take this into account. They'll weigh in once a week. It's a high day. They'll be discouraged. Maybe their whole week was great, but you ate your food really late the night before. It's really misconstruing the data. So it's learning how to better look at data, to better identify what metrics you should be tracking, and then also having the ability and know-how to make sure that those metrics progress. Because if you're not doing that, you're not seeing progress and you're wishing. We know people that go to the gym, they feel like they're doing better, and when they see that hard data, they're like, my weight went up. What the heck? I've been in the gym, but they've completely neglected their food. And that's where, for us, we also monitor the food. We monitor also the energy levels. We make sure you're on a routine that guarantees you're going to put on more muscle and strength. We make sure you're on a nutrition plan that guarantees you're going to lose fat and gain muscle. And that's where, like, there's so many nuances to this, and we always try to give these tips as best we can. But it's very easy when I can come in one-on-one with your specific situation and really assign what you need. Because some people need more food. A lot of people need less food. Some people need the same food. Like, that's where it's hard to give one size fits all answers. And like, it really does come down to, it depends. But I wanted to give some more context into that. But in a nutshell too, because I know I got really theoretical and kind of more intense towards this. If you really want to look better for vacation, it's hard when you have less time to see a drastic, crazy response. But if you do want to look better, you'll never do yourself any harm by tidying up your diet, limiting excess drinking, extra snacking, extra sweets, and try to bring those calories down so you can be in a bit of a deficit. Make sure you're getting in the gym, make sure you're being active, and really get some good sleep. And you will see some progress. The longer you're able to do that, the better. And like I said, there are a lot of ways to do that even more drastically. And that's where even I'm really pumped for the 4 of you that reach out for this test group, because we're going to create some crazy transformations just like we did for Tiffany. And if you want to see guaranteed results, we have over 3,500 transformations. We're almost at that 4,000 mark, which is crazy to think. And we guarantee our results for a reason, because we know they work. We have a 98% success rate. So go ahead and DM us the keyword tight tummy to our Instagram at ColossUsFit, COLOSSUSFIT, so I can take out all the complexity of this for you and just do the work for you, tell you exactly what to do, and get you some killer results.
Yeah, honestly, we cannot wait to change your life. Do not hesitate. Do not wait until it's too late, like we said. And yeah, just honestly, I truly believe everyone will benefit from every single one of these tips, but also just having that person holding accountable and create a customized routine.
All right, number 2 question, or number 2, is the Francais say, is do fat burners really work? And this is from Sydney.
Yeah, this is, a great question. And I can't say I've seen it too much recently, but like my long answer short is I just believe they are a waste of money. I think there's so many amazing things you can do out there that can just help you burn fat faster, especially everything we had mentioned here. I just think there's a lot of marketing involved with some of these things. And even I was looking up some of the claims that some of the fat burners say, and they're very fancy lingo to get people to want to just jump into it and spend all their money for it. $60 for whatever, a couple of servings or 20 servings, metabolism boosting, fat oxidization, appetite suppression, energy boosting. Like it's not worth it. The one thing I will say is that some of them have caffeine, so it can definitely, boost your energy. I remember when I used to get some for free, essentially years and years and years ago, I would use it as like a bit of a pre-workout, especially because there was caffeine involved. But I just think a lot of times people think that once they start taking this, then everything's gonna come together, and they don't pay attention to nutrition and then the workouts, and they're just like, well, I'm taking a fat burner and it feels good, right? Like you see all these claims, you're like, well, it's gonna pay off, it's helping me out, all this stuff. And I just think it's, if any benefit, it's such a small one. And I just personally don't think it has any true benefits. And that's just my personal viewpoint. So I'd rather you save your money and just invest in yourself in some other way.
Yeah, there was a fat burner. I forget what it was called, but it actually, Hydroxycut, the OG one, it worked really well with getting people to lose fat, but it was destroying people's like livers and kidneys. So it's like, I'm so weary of anything new because there's always a cost to it. I swear there's like, it's just so rare in life there's something great with no costs, right? And some of these costs are better than others. For instance, our coaching, there's a financial commitment, but to me it's like we make a point to make sure we give more value than the actual financial amount. So you're like, this is the best money I've ever spent. I feel my best, and you can go out and make more. But even there's a new diet pill that everyone's taking. I forget the name of it.
Oh, is that for like their diabetes?
Yeah, they repurposed it. Anyhow, like Kyle will think of it in a second, I'm sure. But even that, like, it's a new thing. I know a lot of people are running to it, but like, the issue too is a pill will never solve your inherent issues. If you're overeating, you're not eating healthy, you're making a lot of mistakes, like a pill isn't going to be here to rectify that. It's not going to change your composition. Once again, we mentioned before, like the concept of skinny fat. There's a lot of people that probably look good in a sweater and pants, but if you see them on the beach, you're like, oh, that person doesn't look healthy. They don't look good. They have no muscle tone. They're hunched. Their posture's all messed. So like, that's the problem by trying to get to these quick fixes. And most fat burners over the counter are just a ton of caffeine. They'll have like a few things, the thermogenics that are quote unquote supposed to help you burn more calories. But like, it's going to be completely like, the result of it's going to be a net negative, or net neutral rather. Like, you're not really going to see any progress from them. And anything that works great would come at the expense of like livers, kidneys, and like long-term functions of a really good life. And that's just where like it's not worth it. And then every time you blow up, you're going to have to run out and take these pills. Instead, like I mentioned in a previous episode, like, even for me, I'm able to maintain 11% body fat, eating just about 4,000 calories, having all my favorite foods, being in the gym, living my life with no pills, no helps, no nothing. Like, all I take is vitamin D, ashwagandha, which I think is fantastic. And I actually bought a random multivitamin because it was on sale. I'm going to take it for a month until I run out. But that is a simple way to go about it. And like, a lot of these things are just selling a dream to you, where if you take something, oh, and it's Ozempic, I remember now. So I don't know enough about Ozempic. I'll research it. I'll do an episode on it if people would like. But like I said, you're so much better just to learn how to be active, how to fit exercise into your life, to eat the right amount of calories, to eat better, to be in the gym. And that's why, like, with our coaching, why we're so passionate about it, and that's why, like, we don't put ads. It's the only thing we'll talk about, because we want to just give value. And I like directing people to what I do in coaching. But as we said, it's always, it depends, because you listen to this are going to be so different from someone else listening to this. And someone who's just like in Montana listening to this is going to be in a very different situation than someone who's across the world in a different country. Like, your economic situation can be different, your gym situation, your community, your kind of cultural, like the foods you eat. Like, there's so many nuances to it, and there's core principles that work. But it's been really cool to take people all over the world and show them how to do these things sustainably, and to teach them how to do it so they could do it in any walk of life, no matter where they are in any circumstance. And you shouldn't just be resulting to these extremes. It's the same, like, you could absolutely eat crazy for a week and then not eat for 7 days and just fast, and you'll probably kind of net out, but you're going to be destroying your body too. And it's a big cost. It's a crazy result of inaction. It's going to be like, you're going to be just in this area of just complete like hedonistic, like just going hard and then backing off it with these extremes that are so painful. So that's my thought on it. And that's where I just recommend learning to do things right. Same thing with steroids. Like, a lot of people, and I know it's being pushed to like a lot of younger people on TikTok. Like, even for me, since I've started, I've always known like there's a cost to it, and we've seen all these amazing influencers die. Like, even the funnier ones like Rich Piana, there's been a lot of other people, I think Boston Lloyd, like, who have died in their 20s, early 30s. And like, it's so sad to me too that like you look so good and whatever, but you die at 20 or 30. Like, that's no way to live. And even for me, like, I like kind of finding out what my genetic limit is. Like, it's kind of hard for me to really push past this realm of like 215. I'm 6'1", and I'm like 11% body fat right now for my stats. I got good strength, but I enjoy that challenge, and I intend to do this long term. And I also have the challenge of fighting against the clock as I begin to get older, as my life situation change, having kids, all these different things. And I enjoy that component of it. And like, going to these short-term solutions, there's such a side effect and such a price to pay. And that's where you need to be so mindful. And it is sad too, seeing people go about that. And me and Kyle always joke too, like, guys, for instance, you think you're going to get D's, and like, girls are just going to love you. Every girl's going to go, oh, you're so jacked, you have such great muscles. But like 9 out of 10 times, the people talking to you that are really impressed by your muscles are other dudes, right? Which is pretty funny. And it's the same with like thinking like fast cars and stuff. Like it always comes back to that too. So people go about it for the wrong reason. They'll have such a kickback and they'll realize, wow, I could have got so much progress just naturally by living life the right way and actually learning to take care of myself. So I mentioned before the example of like the fool, hits the leaves, the wise man or someone chops branches, then the wise man actually digs the roots. And like it's the same thing here. Like you got to learn the fundamentals of that stool so you can see lasting progress and be in a better metric and not look for quick fixes that aren't actually going to fix anything.
Yeah, we're honestly like super passionate about essentially just saving you guys time and money. And like, I'm pretty sure everyone will agree they just dislike wasting money. And I can definitely firmly agree on that. And that's why, like, even for us, like when we sit here and we share these things that we're passionate about, and especially like warn you of a bunch of things, our biggest mission is to help you once again save time so you don't have to just spin your wheels, try a bunch of stuff, waste years, but also so you save your pockets essentially too, right? And I've been there. Like I remember I used to start in my fitness journey thinking I had to buy every little thing. I'd go to either bodybuilding.com, Popeyes, which is our local chain, or GNC, and just spend like way too much on stuff that didn't make a big difference. And that's why we're so passionate about just sharing the right info with you. And that's why we created this podcast. And even if you do want like a descriptive supplement guide and suggestions, Josh actually put some good time into what the research says, what the great supplements should be based off of different levels, where you're at, and all that great stuff. You can actually click down below. It'll be the second link just for a free supplement guide, which we'll send over to you as well. And yeah, that way you just know what's right. Obviously nothing will beat proper training, proper nutrition, and proper recovery, especially sleep. And that's a great answer to number 2. And hopefully that helps your question about fat burners.
All right. And to number 3 here, I really want to get people around me on board with my fitness because I know it will not only help them, but myself as well. Any thoughts or suggestions here?
So yeah, it's a good question because like the truth is, the more that you have everyone else around you on this journey and winning, like the more that it's going to be easier for you to win. And we get asked this quite often where someone's like, hey, like my partner's not as involved into fitness and like, I just want to get them on board. I really think the first step, and this, like, I feel like a lot of people don't even reach this step, is just sharing how important your fitness journey and what you're striving for means to you. And that's going to be the first thing. And honestly, like I'll have some conversations with people, clients, some of you awesome people in the DMs, and a lot of you haven't even reached that step where you've actually like just sat them down and said, hey, listen, I'm on this journey. I need to lose 30 pounds. Here's what I'm striving for. If you could support me, that would be fantastic. And, here's what I need from you. That alone should, and especially if they if they love you, essentially, they'll say, hey, absolutely, like I'll do whatever it takes. Like I want to be there for you. And that alone, I think, will help. So obviously that's the first step, but I will say like one of the best things you can do is just start like bringing them around and start encouraging them as well. I don't think it exactly works in my personal opinion when you just start like telling someone what they have to do and how they should do it, because sometimes they can feel a little bit on the defense end. And I think that just isn't usually the best. But what I will say is, if you just start really encouraging someone and explaining why you're doing it, such as, bringing home a healthy dinner, such as cooking a healthy dinner, explaining how Coach Kyle and Coach Josh said, you could live so much longer from strength training, like all these things. So instead of just like, I guess you could say like yelling at them to do it, but encouraging them, hey, why don't you come for a Saturday workout? Or, we're going to go on this walk because it helps us live so much longer, like all these great things. I think the first step is making them aware. And the second step is just encouraging them to essentially be there with you. And this doesn't just go for partners, but I think also a friend group. Like if you have a bunch of buddies who are just crushing it and you're doing sports and you're eating healthy and you're eating well, I think that goes such a long way. And that's why you can always just invite people out and just encourage them. And obviously that's the best you can do. Like you can't force someone to do something, but that's going to be my biggest tip. And hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it. It was a killer episode. Definitely lots of amazing information here. If you want guaranteed results and you're tired of spinning your wheels, not seeing the progress you deserve, 4 spots available. DM Tight Tummy to us on Instagram at ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT, and we will take care of you. Peace out.